Over the last several years, I've participated in my absolute favorite event in my town, the Under the Silver Moon Parade in Cary, North Carolina, led by my artist friends Gowrie Thure and Angela Arnold. At this annual event, typically held in mid-January at the downtown Cary Park, people come from miles around to bring color and energy to an otherwise dark time of year. Participants in this parade build the most amazing sculptures out of willow, bamboo, and tape, covered in paper and stuffed with tons of multicolor LEDs. My partners in crime at this parade have been my local maker friends, Ben from the Make for Life workshop, who's an awesome woodworker, and Nicole and Thure from When Geeks Craft, who are a crafting power couple. At the last parade, Ben made an elegant origami crane. Nicole beamed herself up with a classic flying saucer, and Thure and I collaborated for the very first time on one of my absolute favorite lanterns to date, the original Starship Enterprise. In the past, I rocked a giant TIE interceptor and even a 4-foot-tall Game Boy. These incredible sculptures have always stolen the show, with the LED lights being a secondary feature, accenting the form and structures from within. For the next year's parade in January 2026, we all wondered if there was a way for the lights themselves to take center stage. For the previous lanterns, I've traditionally used these RGB fairy lights, and I've even used these puck lights. They both have these little remote controls, which are super handy. You can change the colors dynamically. They can pulse from different ones. Has lots of different features. But we wanted something a little bit more advanced. For this idea, we were going to focus on using flat LED strips that were more directional to see if we could build some animated pixel art that we could just carry around. Time for the research and prototyping stage. I happened to stumble upon a video where they used a special type of material called black LED acrylic, and it seemed really compelling. It looks just like a typical black cast acrylic, but it hides a special ability up its sleeve. The wonderful people over at Tap Plastics sent me some of this criminally underutilized material to try out on this lantern project, and it's totally magic. It kept surprising us with its potential applications the more we played around and prototyped with it. So armed with a small strip of LEDs, a simple ESP32 microcontroller connecting only 3 wires, ground, power, and data, and loading it up with WLED control software and a simple battery pack, we started cranking out the prototypes. We first made a 3x3 pixel array, and we were constantly floored by the vibrancy of the colors. I mean, just look at that. It's awesome. We then 3D printed out the first of many corresponding grids. These grids were critical for this project because they isolated each pixel to be an individual color, preventing light bleed and allowing the blacks to be as high contrast as possible. It just looks so good. We then switched over to printing a PLA white perimeter, and oh man, that was a wonderful surprise. We quickly fell in love with the side volumetric look, as it seemed we were basically getting a new effect for free without much more effort. I mean, look at that. It's so good. After seeing how great a 3x3 pixel array worked, we naturally wanted to throw more LEDs at it, which meant even more prototyping. We tried different metallic silk filaments, finishing techniques, and even some aluminum tape to increase the reflectivity. So many promising results. It turned out everything we threw at the LED acrylic, it just kept delighting us and surprising us around pretty much every turn. We tried every manner of different 3D printed grids, color, you name it, and arrived at some really amazing effects that we're just keeping in the back of our mind for potential future projects. I mean, even holding up the acrylic at weird angles and heights produced some really interesting and unique effects. I mean, why stop at square pixels? The sky is the limit with this stuff. Tessellated shapes and patterns would also look amazing. I feel that we're barely scratching the surface of the potential here. We also wanted to try using the LED acrylic material along the sides of the design instead of the 3D printed perimeter to further improve the high contrast effect. Eventually, all this testing unfortunately had to end. As awesome as it was, we had to lock in on a style and decided that the larger, chonkier 3D pixels would probably look best for the viewer at a distance when we're marching down the parade. We just imagined some vivid, jumbo-sized retro video game characters floating down the parade route, surrounded by darkness, and that got us really excited at that prospect. And what retro video game characters, you might ask? That's right, the OG himself, Pac-Man, and the ghosts. We loved the bigger pixels for this project, and we wondered just how large we could safely take it, based on the weight, the sheer size of the potential lantern, and the maximum pixel chunk value. We wanted to try to find an even larger LED spacing that unfortunately was beyond the standard sizes of LED strips that are commonly available, that we knew of. I found these cool LEDs that would give us the flexibility and size that we desired, and I picked up some from Amazon. Links below in the description. Unfortunately, they have to be hand soldered. Fortunately, both Thure and I have a good amount of soldering experience between us, so we figured that might be worth a shot at least in our final test. We had also decided on maybe making the Pac-Man and the ghosts double-sided so that both sides of the parade route could clearly see the mostly flat characters regardless of which side they're sitting on. And honestly, what can be better than a Pac-Man chomping as we're walking down the street in the direction we're traveling, as if the street itself is the maze? I mean, it's too good not to do. Here's a pro tip for you we learned along the way. We were able to sync up these mirrored LED layouts by using the same LED data pin. No WLED shenanigans were required. I designed these little white clips that let the pixel LEDs snap right into place. They seem to work pretty well, taking into account the layer lines of the prints and the ability to iterate on the perfect height and placement of the LEDs as we go. If they were to break while we're installing them, no problem. They're modular and they press fit right into place. So we kept moving forward with assembling the large-scale pixel prototype, and next came the larger grids. The Bamboo Labs printers were absolute rock stars, and their incredible accuracy and speed was becoming more and more apparent and appreciated as we continued along with this project. For the LED strips themselves, we considered having some flexible PCBs manufactured or other methods, and we still might, but based on current shipping times, cost, and other factors, we slowly settled and accepted the reality of soldering some of these LEDs together by hand might be the best way to go. Now came the time for the part of the project that none of us had any experience with, which was acrylic solvent welding using Weld-on Thure and hypodermic needles to apply it. This was honestly a little bit intimidating, also considering the amount of PPE that we had to wear in order for us to feel safe around this stuff, considering the warning labels. But we learned a lot from this prototype that we will carry over to building the full characters, and we won't make a single mistake. Speaking of full-size characters, I want to give you guys a sense of scale. This banana is banana-sized, just for reference, which makes this ghost 2 feet by 2 feet tall. It's a monster. And finally, we get to the assembly of the final prototype before the characters themselves. This allowed us to go into Fusion 360 and test out ideas we had regarding the mounting, the cable routing, how it was going to fix to the pole itself, all those different sorts of things, how it was going to assemble together. And without this prototype, we really couldn't have done the full scale. It would have been a nightmare. But I think the results speak for themselves. This thing turned out awesome. We learned so much on this prototype. And we accidentally created a Technomancer's mace or a hammer at the same time. Bonus. And while that opaque black acrylic around the perimeter does make for a really nice effect, we were super satisfied with our decision to fully embrace the chonkiness. Of the volumetric pixels. Huge shout out to awesome folks over at Tap Plastics. Why does it keep doing that? They believed enough in this project to provide the black LED acrylic for us to use. Be sure to go pick up a sample of this stuff. You will not be disappointed. I had better see a lot more projects using it in the very near future. While the sheer math of 170 pixels for just one side of a Ghost and 137 for one side of Pac-Man is admittedly pretty intimidating, we had a cadre of other local tech-minded friends who were willing to help out. The jury is still out if that was the right choice, but hopefully the end result is worth it. Be sure to like that bell and subscribe to that follow to be notified when we release the next videos in this lantern series to not miss it. Huge thanks to my True Believer patrons. I haven't released a video in a while, so sorry about that. But you know, you guys hung in there. You guys were with me no matter what, and that's why you're my True Believer patrons. I appreciate you so much. You help to keep the lights on here at Geeksmithing more than you know. If you'd like to head over to patreon.com/geeksmithing and eventually get your name in a video, let me know. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next lantern video.